Hello, welcome to Bentley's Backwoods Bushcraft, and this is Richard. Okay, I'm going to do somewhat of an AAR, my after action report for the overnighter at Osage Camp. So I've got some notes here. So I didn't want to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I have a horrible memory and there's no way I'm going to remember all this. Plus, it's always nice to have this in written form and kept in some sort of notebook. But Billy Bird Outdoors asked if I was going to do an item with a video about the items that I used and thoughts about the overnighter. And I've tried to do a couple videos so far about it, and they just haven't turned out very well. But we're going to give it a go again. So this is the after action report. So let's see, I built the shelter probably in 2 or 3 hours. It took me to build the shelter. I used only natural materials that I found out there. I used no cutting tools and no equipment, although I must admit on one piece of wood I did actually use a handsaw that I didn't have to do, but I used it once and then I put it down and didn't use it again. But that shelter was completely built, other than that one small instance. It was completely built with absolutely no equipment, no man-made materials. There was no cordage involved. It was strictly, I found a downed tree and I gathered all of the wood from the ground, picked it up and carried it and positioned it to make that shelter. So, and like I said, overall it took me about 2 or 3 hours to build. Although I did do it over a 2-day period, only because I just didn't have to do it all at one time. If I would have had to do it all at one time, I would have, but I didn't have to. Let's see, the items that I used. Now, I'm not even going to discuss the items I took out there, because I took out way too much crap. And I've said that several times. I overdo everything. Although the good thing is, with that overnighter and with the ish that is going on right now, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to my video that says 400 days ish and watch that, and then maybe you'll understand. But with that overnighter and with the ish, I have completely reevaluated my gear situation. I have a shed that had what I'm thinking now was probably about 7 or 8 small totes and about 3 or 4 large totes, just full of survival and prepper gear, which I don't need. But anyway, that's a completely different situation, and I'll discuss that later. So anyway, the items that I did use. I used a tarp, which I laid on the ground. I used my sleeping bag system, which consists of my sleeping bag. There was a sleeping bag cover, which I laid down. And I had 2 blankets and a sleeping bag insert that I used as a pillow. I did have an umbrella out there that I did use. I had 1 2-liter bottle of water that I made lemonade, instant lemonade out of. I think it was Country Time lemonade, but I'm not 100% sure. I did also have a 2-liter of water. I used 1 soda can that I used as a container to heat water. I had a little rubber finger mitt, the little red thing, which I loved, by the way. I got that at the Dollar Tree, but you can also find it at Lowe's and Menards. It's just like a little mitt that fits on your hand. I did use 2 packets of cocoa. I used a Taco Bell plastic spork. I had 1 Wise Company cheesy lasagna meal. I used my YouTube cup to drink the cocoa from. I did use a flashlight. I did use a lighter, although I did not necessarily have to use the lighter, but I did use the lighter one time to light a match candle that I had made. And I could have struck that on something, but I got the lighter out and made sure that it lit. But as far as the fire goes, I used a lighter once, and I used one match candle, and that had my fire. I kept that fire going all through the late day, all through night and into the morning. And I did also have 2 solar lights sitting out there, although I did not necessarily need them. And as a matter of fact, the whole time they were lit, I actually angled them upwards so they were pointing up and into the sky. I had them out there for in case, like if I wandered off of camp and I needed to get back to camp, which I never did need. But so the 2 items that I used that I didn't necessarily have to have out there was the lighter and those 2 solar lights. But that's everything that I used that I can recall. If you guys noticed anything else that I absolutely used, I did have a chem light hanging up, but I did not use it. And I had a lot of gear out there, but I didn't use most of it. So those were the items that I used. So thoughts about the encounter. First of all, I want to say that I have identified that noise that was going on all night, and it was not a woodchuck. It was not a groundhog. So I was mistaken. It also was not a raccoon. What else was thrown out there? There was a lot of animals that people were suggesting that it could have been, but it wasn't any of that. There may have been a woodpecker out there making some of that noise, and there may have been a bullfrog out there making some of those noises, but that was not the predator noise that I had been hearing. And when I mean predator noise, I'm talking about the movie monster, the Predator, from like Aliens and Predators and things. There was a noise like that out there, and I did finally figure out what that was for sure. It's a crow. It's a crow. And I may do a video showing those sounds and everything, but it was a little different than I may do a video. I want to do a video on some of those sounds and everything, what people were suggesting, and then that crow sound. Maybe a woodpecker and maybe a bullfrog added to the crow noise. So it could have been all 3 of those together, but that predator noise was absolutely a crow. I have no doubt in my mind that it was a crow. So I wanted to get that out. I was completely mistaken about believing that was a woodchuck. I went and listened to some groundhogs, their noises, and it's nothing like that. So completely wrong on my part. Let's see what else. I did take out way too much gear, and like I said, I'm working on fixing that issue. I would like to be a little more ranger-like, and I'm not talking about the army version of the ranger. I'm talking about the woodsman outdoors ranger type situation. I would like to be more like that, as far as you know, I only have what I can carry on myself or on a pack animal. I don't have a pack animal, so technically my van is my pack animal. So I guess I did carry only what I could carry on myself and my pack animal, since my van was pack animal. But it was a really nice night out there. I would have to say that it did rain a lot, but it was very enjoyable. I loved the rain out there. My shelter worked perfectly. I had no leaks. I did find a couple holes, but I did get those fixed quite quickly, and I had absolutely no problem with rain getting into that shelter. Now let's discuss a little bit about the shelter. It was designed specifically and solely for an emergency overnight, 2-night best situation. I built that in a couple hours. It was just kind of an experiment as far as me going out there and building a shelter with absolutely no gear and being able to do it in a short period of time and making it something that I could survive in for a day or two. And I accomplished that goal, and it worked out perfectly. Let's see. Some of the things that people mentioned on the videos, and I do want to say that I appreciate everybody's comments, and I do enjoy, and I'm glad when people suggest things to me or bring up situations that maybe I did this wrong, or maybe I'm not going to say wrong. I don't like using that term because there's no such thing as wrong if it worked. Maybe better, something I could have done better, or something they wouldn't have done. So a couple things. Somebody suggested that I build a windbreak for my fire, which would have been a fantastic idea, and I did think about doing that, but I chose not to for two big reasons. One is that it was considered, for me, a simple overnight, quick, couple night at best situation, and I just didn't want to put any effort into improving the shelter when the situation was designed for something I was just going to stay in for 1 or 2 nights and then just move on. And also, I did not want to build a windbreak for the simple fact that part of the reason I built that shelter in that situation, in that spot, was because of the view. And I really loved that view. And if I would have built a windbreak, I would have blocked part of my view, and I didn't want to do that. I did consider maybe building a temporary movable windbreak, like I would put the posts out and then I could drop the wood into it during the nighttime when I could use the windbreak, and then during the daytime when I wanted my view, I could take the wood out and then I could have my view. That would have possibly worked. People were asking me about mosquitoes and bugs and critters in general. Tonight I stayed out there. There was absolutely no problem with mosquitoes whatsoever. None. Bugs, no flying bugs, nothing pestered me, but there were bugs in the shelter. I'm out in the woods. The shelter is built completely of old, dead, rotten wood. Yeah, there's going to be bugs. I actually had a mouse take refuge in that shelter. So if I were to stay in it for any length of time, or if I am to use it again, I will get some smoke in there and try to smoke some of that stuff out before I spend the night in it again, though. But I had no issues with bugs. There were no mosquitoes that night. See, what was one of the other big ones was I was getting comments about how people didn't think that putting that shelter there was a good choice. And I could agree on some aspects, and I'll disagree on others. One is I didn't put that shelter there. That shelter was that was there before I showed up. I just happened to stack wood on that dead fallen tree. That's where the tree had fell. That was the highest spot in that general area. And yes, it was really close to, I'm not going to say stagnant, but unmoving water. It was really close to unmoving water. But that's where the tree was at. There was no other fallen trees that angled like that I could get under and build a lean-to shelter. Not in that area. If I were to build a more expansive and detailed shelter, it would have taken me a whole lot longer, and it wouldn't have been an emergency overnight type shelter. I would have had to spend a couple days on it, and it just wasn't what I was looking for. I was looking on the premises, okay, I'm walking through here, I need to stop for the night, what's my best situation? Well, that was my best situation at the point. It only took me a couple hours to build. It just happened to be right there. It was on high ground considering the rest of the area. So you take what you get, and that's what I was given, so that's what I took. I do understand people's reservations about it, but it worked out fantastic. I didn't have any problems. As a matter of fact, it's been several weeks from this video, from making this video to when I was out there. It's been about 2 weeks since I was out there, and I went out there a few days ago, and the water was like 8 feet further away from the shelter. It had already dried up that much. That's not a permanent area for water. That stuff dries up during the summertime. That water will disappear as soon as the area somewhat dries up. Now, I do live in a swamp. My whole county is a swamp. It's not a Louisiana or Florida swamp, but it is a Midwestern swamp. So it gets as dry as it's going to get. But I think it was a very usable site. It worked for me. It was good for the night that I was there, and it would still be good for a couple more nights if I had to stay into it. So I'd like to thank everybody for watching Bentley's Backwoods Bushcraft, and enjoy the outdoors, even if it's just your own backyard.